Hey everyone, this is Ron, and today I'm going to be doing a solo show. I've got a few things I definitely been wanting to talk about, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to dedicate an entire episode to getting this information out to you. So in particular, I want to give you a quick Gemba Academy update. I know we have a lot of Gemba Academy subscribers who listen to the show, so it won't be long, but I want to give a short update on what we got going on there. I want to talk about a book that I'm actually listening to through Audible right now, which I think is going to be very applicable to folks within the continuous improvement world. I want to talk a little bit about the KataCon Summit, which is going to be coming up in early 2019, and then kind of the thrust or the main point of the of today's episode is going to be digging into the whole 5 why concept or root cause analysis methodology of asking why, not just 5 times, but a number of times. And in particular, I want to kind of talk about a pretty famous 5 why example that's used in a lot of lean training programs, namely the Lincoln Memorial and Jefferson Memorial. If you've been to some lean training or some Six Sigma training, you may have heard this example. I had. But unfortunately, many of us haven't got the full story, or really maybe even the most important aspect of this 5 why example. And so I want to kind of uncover that and unpack that a little bit towards the end of the show. So first, Gemba Academy update. You're listening to this on a Thursday. If you're listening to this on a day it's released, and AME literally just wrapped up out in San Diego. And if we met you and saw you, thank you for coming. If you didn't make it this year, no worries. Next year, I think it's going to be in Chicago. I'm actually obviously recording this before we even head off to San Diego, but I think it's going to be in Chicago this next year. So definitely check that out. And if you've never been to an AME conference, you really need to check one out. So what we will have done by the time you're listening to this, and what we're still planning to do, is we're going to be recording Mike Rother doing the Kata in a Classroom workshop. Now this is it's a really fun workshop. I actually recently did it with some kids, so it's really designed for kids or adults to do, and it's just a way to practice the improvement kata and the coaching kata. And so what we're going to do with this footage that we've captured is basically turn it into videos that anyone will be able to use to run their own kata in a classroom workshop, and you'll have the man himself, Mike Rother, up there kind of walking you through it as if you're there in the room with him. So we're pretty excited about that. A few weeks ago, we were in Northern Ireland at Seating Matters, and we captured a Gemba Academy Live episode with Ryan and the team over there in Limavady, Northern Ireland. So we've begun to edit that, and we hope to have that done here in the next month or two. Now, we've also unveiled at AME some pretty cool technology that we're playing around with, which is 360 video. So you're really going to be able to put on some virtual reality type glasses, or you can even use your iPhone and some cheap glasses if you don't want to spend a lot of money. And it's incredible. You're like literally standing inside these people's factory. So we've got Paul Akers at FastCap did some experimentation with us and shot their morning meeting in 360. So we have all this footage, and we're going to be slowly releasing this onto our website. It's going to be a bit of a technology learning for most folks, because it's going to, you can just watch 360 video on your computer or even on an iPad or something like that. But to get the full experience, you really need to strap it on your head with these glasses. And when you do, goodness gracious, it's like you're there. So we're really excited for that Seating Matters Gemba Academy Live, because we shot quite a bit of 360 footage there. Now, in December, we are going to be out back in California, as it turns out, and we're going to be doing a Gemba Walk workshop, and Michael Bremer is actually going to be running that, and we're going to record it. And so if you've ever wanted to get better at doing a Gemba Walk, you're going to get to hear Michael Bremer run a workshop, but then most importantly, you're going to see Michael do live coaching, and this is real. It's not staged. Michael is going to be coaching up the leadership of this particular company on how to do better Gemba walks. So we're really excited about that. And then lastly, our Spanish language team, Anna Cruz, Carlos, they're so busy constantly creating new content all in Spanish. So if you do you speak Spanish, or you have employees who speak Spanish, definitely check out our Spanish-speaking content over at GembaAcademy.com. Just go under the products tab and you'll see Escuela Lean. And they've done a fantastic job. So that's an update on Gemba Academy. I want to quickly plug a book that I'm actually listening to right now on audio form through Audible, and the book is called Atomic Habits by a gentleman named James Clear. I've been following James for a little while. He has a blog, and he does a really nice job on his blog, and he's not really into the continuous improvement world, although he does talk a lot about many of the same things. If you've read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, this is maybe a follow-up to that book, and it kind of builds on some of the things that Power of Habit introduced to the world, and it's a really good book. I'm not done with it yet, but I highly recommend checking it out. In fact, you can, if you're not an Audible customer, you can get a free book. We've got a link on the show notes page here, so just go to GembaPodcast.com. This will be episode 239, and scroll. Jessica can put a link to Audible, but definitely recommend checking out this book, Atomic Habits. Now, as I just mentioned, we just finished up the AME, but the next conference that we're really looking forward to is going to be in February, and it's with the folks over at Lean Frontiers. It's the KataCon Summit. Now, this particular summit is going to be pretty incredible. It's February 18th to the 19th. It's going to be in Savannah, Georgia, and so in addition to all this amazing Toyota Kata stuff, with TWI also happening later in the week, we're going to be celebrating 5 years of KataCon. So that's pretty cool. But Jeffrey Liker and Mike Rother are both going to be there. And as it turns out, this is going to be the 10-year anniversary of the book Toyota Kata. It's going to be the 15-year anniversary of Jeff Liker's Toyota Way. And it's going to be the 20-year anniversary of Mike Rother's Learning to See. Now, all three of these books have greatly impacted me, and I'm guessing many of you have also been touched or benefited from these books and just the work that Mike and Jeff Liker have done over the years. So if you want to meet them face to face and you want to kind of celebrate these anniversaries or these milestones, definitely come. Now we've partnered with Lean Frontiers, and we're able to get you a 10% coupon. So if you go to KataSummit.com, the coupon code is LF for like Lean Frontiers, LF10. And that'll get you 10%. So definitely encourage you to go there. We're going to be there. We're going to be recording a bunch of stuff and doing all kinds of fun stuff as well. All right. Now, what I want to really spend the rest of this episode on is the topic of 5 why. Now, we actually did a pretty in-depth episode with my business partner and great friend and mentor, John Miller, back in episode 182, and we'll definitely link to that episode in the show notes. As if you've not listened to that episode, I really, really encourage you to do that, because John actually really kind of dives in pretty deep on this whole 5 why, because it is much more than just standing there and asking why a few times. Okay, there's a lot to it, and so John really unpacks it. But in case you're not familiar with what 5 why is, what I want to do is play just a little bit of a clip from that particular episode 182, where John kind of just in a few minutes explains what the 5 why are. So here's that clip.
5 why is just the process of asking why repeatedly, and not even asking why, but just investigating and pursuing the causes until you can get to a source level or root level cause that you can take action and do something about. The number 5 is not really significant. Unfortunately, it's a popular and convenient handle that people like, and that can be misleading sometimes. But as I would say, first of all, if one thing I could change about 5 why, it's the name. Like with many things in Lean, because people get kind of stuck on the 5, and you have to explain what's not really 5. Well, then why is it called why? five why, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting story in itself. Taichi Ono, who was a man who helped develop Lean and Toyota production system at Toyota. There, he was asked by probably a young engineer wanting to sound smart, on the shop floor. Mr. Ono, shouldn't we be using the 5W1H approach here for this problem? And 5W1H being the who, what, where, when, why, and the 1H being how. So this young person probably had read that in a textbook someplace and wanted to show Mr. Ono, hey, I've got a tool for you.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Ono said, oh, you don't need all that. Just keep asking why.
Mm.
So that became, that legend became, he wanted it to be five whys and nothing else. Don't complicate it. He just only asked why. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know the truth of that story, and I'm sure details have changed over the years. But I think the interesting thing is, in Japanese, when people talk in companies, they talk about the root cause analysis or the five why or asking why. It's almost never five times why. And they might refer to that because it's been in books in the West, or some people there have caught on to it a little bit, but it's always why. It's twice. And it isn't twice, it's just why. And it's kind of like when you say in English, drip, drip. Mm-hmm. Faucet goes drip, drip. It doesn't mean that it's drip twice. It just means that it's continuing and repeating, and it's persistent. Drip, mm-hmm. drip, 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 drip. But you don't say drip, 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 mm-hmm. 7, 8 times. Mm-hmm. You say it twice. And in a lot of languages, that's true. In Japanese, that's true, where you repeat a couple of syllables, a word, why. In Japanese, it's naze. So you say naze. And people know that means not twice, but repeatedly. Why. Mm. But, it's lost in translation. And instead of five why, well, that why doesn't sound very good. We have 5S. We have all these other numbered things, 7 ways. Can we get a 5 in there? So I think that's probably where it came from, is that somebody that packaged it to become five why, because it's not 5. It's as many as you need to arrive at the source. So it's really quite misleading in that sense.
Okay, again, so if you want to listen to that full episode, which I definitely encourage you to do, that's going to be episode 182. But we'll link to it in the show notes. So this GembaPodcast.com, and this will be episode 239. So many numbers. All right, but that's what 5Y is at a high level. Now, what I want to do is share kind of a classic example that we often hear in lean training classes to demonstrate the power of 5Y. And the story goes something like this. In 1989, the United States National Park Service asked a team of consultants to come and study a big problem they were having in Washington, D.C. In particular, they were having a problem at the Lincoln Memorial and the Jefferson Memorial. And the problem was that the stone monuments were falling apart. They were deteriorating. So what happened was the scientists kind of came in and consultants came in and really they kind of started practicing the concept of 5Y. And so they began by asking, why are the stone monuments deteriorating? So to figure that out, they kind of had to do some research and study and look around. And what they found out was the monuments were being pressure washed every 2 weeks, and the water was causing the marble to expand, become brittle, crack, and I believe in at least one occasion, part of it broke off and fell. I think it broke off like late in the evening, so no one was there or injured or anything like that. But yeah, so they were having a pretty big problem. So then they asked kind of the second why do the monuments need to be washed so often? And after investigating, they learned that the causes were a kind of a combination of bird droppings and dead insect, and they were these, I think it's midges, I think is how you say it, is, they were laying these eggs all over the place, and they're black and kind of stuck to the monuments. And so they had to clean all that junk off. At that point, technically, they could have just said, well, we figured it out. Let's put up some repellent and drive these birds and insects away, and that'll be it. But they didn't. They were good scientists, and they kind of kept digging in, and they asked another why. Why are there so many birds? Well, they found that the birds, because the birds were obviously, going to the bathroom all over the place. So they found that the birds were attracted to the spiders and the insects. And the birds ate the insects or ate the spiders. So then they asked why again. So why are there so many insects and spiders? Well, the spiders were there to eat the insects, and the insects, as it turned out, were attracted to the lights that illuminated the memorials at night. In particular, right at sunset. That was kind of the peak time when these midges and these bugs and spiders and everything just kind of swarmed the memorial right at sunset. So at this point, the scientists kind of thought, maybe we've kind of gotten down more to a root cause, namely these lights that are attracting the bugs, the insects. So they attempted at that point a countermeasure. And what they did with the National Park Service delayed turning on the lights by 1 hour to see if it would help. In particular, it's right at that kind of that sunset period of the day. And so they delayed it by an hour. Well, guess what? It worked. In fact, it worked extremely well. There was an 85% reduction in bug infestation. I don't know exactly how they measured that, but that was what the research papers are saying. 85% reduction. So a big, big, big reduction. So you think, wow, we've done it, And now if you've been, again, to lean training or you've heard this on some other videos out there, that's where the story ends. And everybody high fives and says, yeah, 5Y is awesome. We did it. Woo. And we go to break and have brownies, right, in a training class. Well, unfortunately, the story didn't end there. And maybe this is why it gets left out, because it's kind of it's a little bit of a buzzkill, what I'm about to tell you. So what really happened was when the National Park Service turned the lights off or delayed the lights by an hour, the tourists and photographers and people who traveled from all over the world, came to see the Jefferson Memorial and just to see the beauty of them. And they always want to see it kind of at night when it's all lit up. Well, when they delayed lighting it up by an hour, people lost their minds. They're like, where's the lights? We can't take our pictures during this crucial sunset period. And they really complained. And, well, guess what? They went back and turned the lights back on. And at that point, the story, as we know it right now, has kind of gone cold. And they continue to study the problem, and they continue to try to counter the bug problem. But to be honest, I don't know the current day situation. Now, what I have done personally from my own investigation is I've actually reached out to the National Park Service. I talked to a few folks this past week even, and they wouldn't say so much on the phone, and so I emailed them, and I'm hopefully they'll reply to me, and I'm just curious on if maybe they found another countermeasure. But I guess the reason that I want to share this is that, first of all, from a lean perspective, 5Y, or, as John said, it's always not exactly 5 Ys. In fact, I don't even know how many Ys I said there. But digging in and really trying to get to the root cause, done correctly, is extremely effective. And you could say that it was very effective even in this example. They did get to a root cause that did radically improve the situation. But here's the tricky part about continuous improvement. We often have many different types of customers. Now, in this case, you could argue there's really kind of two primary customers at play. You could argue customer number one is sort of an internal customer, like the National Park Service, the government, if you will, who's spending all this money having to clean the memorial and keep it safe even, right? And so that's one customer. And then the second customer is obviously the tourists and, the people who come from all over the world to see, how beautiful these monuments are and that sort of thing. And so, the countermeasure that they came up with helped customer number one, namely the National Park Service, but it was to the detriment of customer number two. And so that's why continuous improvement, my friends, is very hard, because we often have customer needs, internal customer, external customer, and sometimes they contrast, and you have to make a business decision on who you're going to satisfy. Now, again, hopefully they can come up, or maybe they already have come up with a fantastic countermeasure to the bug problem. So if you're listening to this and you know the answer, please hit me up, ron@gembaacademy.com. Shoot me an email, give me a call, because I really am curious, and we can do an update on a future podcast or something, if anybody knows. So if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, maybe just drive on over there and let me know, when do they turn the lights on? That'd be helpful to know. But yeah, this 5 why is really, really fun and really fascinating. We do cover it in pretty great detail in our practical problem solving course. So if you are interested in learning more about root cause analysis, definitely check that course out. And then, as I mentioned, go back and listen to episode 182 with John, where we dove much deeper into the whole 5 why concept. Anyhow, that's what I've got for today. I really do appreciate you all listening. The show is it's growing year over year. In fact, one update on the podcast. It was about a month ago. We saw this incredible peak in downloads. In fact, we had 100. We doubled our normal downloads. We do pretty good on a normal basis, but it doubled and it held there for a while, and we still don't know the cause of that. Continuous improvement, when you have a signal or a special cause, in your control chart, you want to know what happened. We still can't figure it out. We think we may have been maybe featured in iTunes or something like that. But yeah, that was pretty fun, and that was pretty interesting to see. But yeah, if you do listen to us and you enjoy the show, if you want to pop over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating, that sure would help us, because apparently the algorithms over in Apple, when folks leave good reviews, it does help the show. So the more folks that we can get listening and learning about Lean, the better. Obviously, this show's completely free of charge, and we just want to get the word out as best we can. So anyhow, thanks again for listening. Show notes for this episode can be found over at GembaPodcast.com. This will be episode 239. So check out Atomic Habits. Go to KataSummit.com. Use LF10, Lean Frontiers 10, LF10 for 10% off. And yeah, go listen to John's podcast. So I'll be quiet so you can go listen to John now talk about 5 why. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Gemba Academy podcast. Now, we invite you to take a no-strings-attached, fully functional test drive of GembaAcademy.com. Gain immediate access to more than 1,000 Lean and Six Sigma learning resources, all free of charge, at GembaAcademy.com.